Hey, we're here at BlizzCon 2015. I'm Tim Clark. I'm joined by Chris Thurston.
Hello.
Tom Marks as well. We've just seen the opening ceremony. A bunch of new stuff got announced. All Blizzard's big games, bar Diablo, were on show. And the big story, I guess, was probably the Warcraft movie, though, not a game at all.
For orcs, there is no other life but war. No, but with the humans' help, there could be.
Why are you here?
To save our people.
This, I guess, is the first real chance to see extended footage of kind of like how the orcs look and sound and the world itself. What did you guys make of it, Chris?
It looks remarkably like Warcraft, which I don't think anyone would have expected. Like they haven't made a movie that will necessarily make any visual sense to people who don't already know that universe, which is great for the crowd here particularly. I still don't know really what it's about or like what the stakes are. This is like the first time they've made it clear that Duratan, who's like Thrall's dad and the father of the good orcs that you like, is somehow in an alliance with the humans, which I guess contravenes the plot of Warcraft 1 a little bit.
The sellout orcs.
Yeah, well, maybe they're against the sellout orcs, who knows? But it's the first time that it's actually not about orcs versus humans, but orcs and humans, as the correct title of that game actually is. Which is interesting, but again, it feels very light on detail, but it looks spectacular, and people here fucking loved it, so.
Tom, did you think the non-Warcraft crowd will buy these big green monsters as kind of sympathetic characters? Did you feel like, were you emotionally engaging with the orcs?
I think that they did a good job of making them seem like people. Like when the trailer started out, I was kind of worried that it was just going to be humans crusading and being the good guys, and then they cut to that part where it was the orcs being the good guys. So I think, yeah, you can probably relate to them. Honestly, though, the CGI on the orcs is so distracting to me, I don't know if I can enjoy it. I thought the movie and the trailer looked really good and it looks beautiful, but the CGI faces, I can never get into CGI faces like that.
Let's move on to the actual games then, and I suppose yesterday the big leak was that Overwatch was coming to consoles, but it was also going to be sold as a base game rather than just a pure free-to-play model. They also revealed 3 new characters here, 1 new map. What do you think, Chris, of that approach? It's similar to like CSGO in the sense that you pay up front, and then we all presume now they'll sell other stuff down the line. This is Blizzard, that's how they work. But
my main hope is that by making it a full box product, not a free-to-play game, not even like a kind of freemium kind of thing, it will be able to retain its player base over time. Because that's the big thing that's basically killed so many competitive shooters, is either it's free to play and you have to buy the things you need to succeed and people don't stick with it, or it's a box game that's then supported by a subscription fee in the form of season passes that splits the community up between map packs and so on. And I think the best possible fate for Overwatch is to be a one-off boxed game with hopefully non-game affecting cosmetic microtransactions from that point onwards. So this is a positive step in that sense, at least.
But when they announced it, they actually got me a little bit worried that it wasn't going to be entirely that, because the way that Jeff Kaplan announced it is he said, we've got 21 characters, it's a really good base for the game, they're all going to be available when you buy it, and it made it sound like he was hinting at, but we're going to make more characters that you have to pay for later.
If they do that, I think it would be a huge misstep for them, because they've gone on about how the game is about switching characters. That is their justification for pricing it in this way, is that the game is about switching, it is about having the counters to things.
What did you make of the new characters they showed?
Yeah, I liked all the characters. Genji has shown up in a lot of artwork since they announced the game a year ago, and everyone's been speculating about, who is he? A lot of people actually thought he was Hanzo himself from a different period in the game. But then Mei and Diva, they teased the last week since the beta went live. Then Mei is like an ice base, a lot of slows. You can build this like ramp or a wall up, which is very cool. I love the idea that there's a character in the game now who can change the battlefield like physically, that you can get new places, so that the characters like Zarya, who don't have jumps, who don't have sprints or anything like that, can now get up to a high place. It really is going to change the strategy.
Feels like an interesting area denial thing, which they probably needs more stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, it's an interesting counter to something like Bastion as well, because now you can put a wall in front of him,
yeah,
and he's now useless, which would be amazing.
I'm going to seg us at this point seamlessly into another team-based game with a lot of characters, which was Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
A couple of interesting things for that. First was the new arena.
So arena is, a lot of MOBAs have some kind of arena mode where basically just a big team fight that you get into straight away. Smite has it, I believe League has it. The way the drafting works in this is it's random, like limited level of randomness. So like single draft in Dota 2, you're assigned 3 heroes and you have to pick one of them. But there's no limit on having duplicate heroes or having the same heroes on both teams. They use the joke they used was every single person on both teams being Illidan, which, as far as I can tell, is true of regular Heroes matchmaking. And it looks fun. Like, it's a carefree way of playing the game where you just want to hit people and use ults and not think about what you're doing, basically.
The biggest cheer, though, went to the announcement of the new character, Cho'Gall.
This is
Yeah.
crazy.
You like that, Tom? That seemed like your sort of thing.
Honestly, it's mind-blowing to me that
explain
would
how
be
it
in the
works.
game. So Cho'Gall is a character that's going to be controlled by, it's one hero controlled by 2 players. And we don't know exactly how that works yet. We're going to be able to play it on the show floor.
Yeah, we're going to go find out.
Which is awesome. But also,
Because it's an ogre, right? The joke is with
Yeah,
ogres,
it's a
two
two-headed ogre,
heads,
yeah.
they hit the wrong things.
and the interesting thing though is you can't buy Cho'Gall. You only the people at BlizzCon and digital ticket holders will get Cho'Gall, and then to get him, if you don't have him, you have to play 2 games with someone on your friends list who has Cho'Gall and play as Cho'Gall for 2 games with them, and then you get him. And
Yeah.
so it's this really, I've just never seen anything like it in a MOBA.
It's the most amazing recruitment strategy.
It is.
Like, it's the invite a friend bonus, but turned into a game, and yeah, it's very clever.
I mean, I'm so interested to see if that character is actually going to be competitively viable. Because I think it'd be amazing to see 2 pro players play a character.
Abathur is, and he's a character that basically isn't on the map. So,
suppose.
like, they've done this sort of thing before.
Yeah.
What did you guys make of the other characters? There was Greymane, there was a werewolf of some sorts, Linara, a centaur. These are just words I've written down
He's
as
a
I was watching it.
Worgen.
Another werewolf of some sort.
Shut-
Remind wherever you are.
No, they looked interesting, but honestly, they were kind of just eclipsed by how cool Cho'Gall looked.
Canonically, can deer do backflips?
I think Warcraft Deer can.
Okay.
But they were very they were cool, interesting characters. But I kind of saw Cho'Gall and was like, okay, I don't really care about those.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the new map, Towers of Doom? Could you tell much from
So
what they
there's like a
showed?
really kind of, you pointed this out, they threw it in right at the end, which is that, oh, you can't directly attack the core on this map.
Yeah, you take over towns or something like
Yeah.
that, and that's another thing we'll be able to play later. But and then there's also the other Here's the Storm character, Tracer, where those who pre-order or buy the Origins edition of Overwatch are going to get Tracer in Heroes of the Storm, which is the first time that they've said they're bringing Overwatch characters to Heroes of the Storm. Before, they've always been like, oh, it might happen if we, take our time with it. And so I think that's really cool.
I believe I predicted that was going to happen.
You did predict that.
So Hearthstone, as predicted, they've gone from big expansion to another adventure mode. This
Right.
new one is the League of Explorers. So not based on a WoW raid this time. It's a new new characters they've created. Kind of a mixture of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Indiana Jones type stuff. Were you excited about it, Tom? Like, they've got a new mechanic called Discover, where it kind of works like the Hunter card tracking, in that you get to pick from 3, but there'll be random cards, so it could be like a spell or a beast card or a card of a certain mana cost.
Right.
And I guess it's like a neat way of getting, obviously we know they like RNG effects, but it's a way of getting like neutral card draw to players without increasing the consistency of decks, so you can't just draw into a finish more easily. So I think it's an interesting development, but I wonder kind of more generally as to whether like maybe Hearthstone needs more than just another little injection of cards. Maybe it needs perhaps something a bit bigger than this. It felt like some of the things they were saying fell a little flat in the room.
Yeah, I think you're right to have that impulse, because I feel it too. It's the expansion looked very cool. It looked very fun. It looks like a fun adventure to play. All the characters they came up with are great. The opening cinematic was very cool, but I don't know if that's going to just get me consistently playing again. Like, I looked at the Heroes of the Storm content that they announced, and I went, wow, I want to play Cho'Gall. I want to try that new map. I want to do those things. And I looked at the Hearthstone expansion, and I went, yeah, that's cool, but I don't know if that's going to get me back into the game.
So I didn't want to seem like a Grinch, but when they were showing the thing with the golden monkey and you put the map into your deck, and like it's all like, it was a really nice animation when Elise Starseeker came in, but like it seems miserable to say it, but like no one will play those cards because
No.
they're bad, and
Yeah.
like that effect is bad. And although
But-
it will make like a YouTube video that will be really funny, but like you just won't do it.
Right, and that card that they showed with the Golden Monkey is, like you said, it's not a very good card, right? Competitively, it's not a very good card, but it's really cool and it's really fun, and it shows that the developers are still having fun making cards, which is encouraging to me.
Well, that's nice for them. I'm glad they're happy. But
Tim,
like,
I
you
can't believe you're this angry about a free golden monkey.
But you
Yeah.
remember when they made the robot with the quad wind fury, and like just no one used it, and it was so cool, the robot. But like, I think they need to do something else. sticking with Warcraft and Legion,
Yep.
they just showed there's a panel going on right now as we're recording this, but they just showed the huge cinematic. And I think, like, looking at each other's notes, we were just writing stuff like ridiculous.
Nerd porn.
But yeah,
I want to ride on Chris Metzen's Wizard Helicarrier.
Like on PC Gamer, we have like, I guess, like a general tradition of like, we don't get excited about CG because why would you? Anyone can make good CG, but like not anyone can make CG like that. I would say.
They
Like,
make really good cinematics.
when Sylvanas was on the big flying boat and you first saw her, I was like, oh, I really like Sylvanas. And
Yeah.
I'm a man who's nearly 40, right?
Yeah, like I read a load of Warcraft books when I was a teenager. I was super into it up to basically the end of Vanilla WoW,
This
and
is
then
a
it sort of drifted
confessional
away.
now.
It is, yeah. I'm just getting this out on my chest, but I like this is kind of an open goal for them, because this fan base particularly wants to see the end of that story, which is the end of Warcraft 3 basically at this point, and that universe has gone so many different meandering places since. And that cinematic was basically just, look, we're doing this story you've wanted us to tell, fire every fan service cannon that way. And this crowd was just like basking in it. It was a fun room to be in for that. In fact, the response to that was bigger than the response for the movie trailer.
What about you, Tom?
I think that World of Warcraft, I'm not sure if this is what it needs. Again, they didn't show too much more. I thought the cinematic was lovely and great, but they say they don't care about player base, they care about engagement with World of Warcraft, which I totally respect. But it's interesting because I just don't know if another expansion is what they need and another class is what they need.
I think you're ignoring the fact that a demon from space crashed into a flying boat and then was defeated by a zombie and like a samurai who is also the king.
You know, Chris makes a fair point. I think it's going to do great.
All right, well, that just about wraps up our thoughts on the BlizzCon opening ceremony. We're going to be here throughout the next 2 days, looking at some of the esports stuff that's going on, interviewing the developers from some of the teams of the games we've been talking about. So hopefully stick with PC Gamer. There's a ton more stuff coming along the way.